Hi, Analisa Six here to bring you the July 2023 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Libra for sun and rising placements. I have a blog called The Lady of Leisure, and I also do these horoscope videos for the Sober Curator, which is a sober lifestyle magazine that I've been contributing to since its inception in 2020. If you have not been here before, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I am excited to dive into the Libra horoscope for the month of July. It's July 1st today, and we start out July with an aspect in the sky called a cazimi, where the sun and Mercury are making a conjunction. We also have Juno, the asteroid that represents marriage, kind of in the mix here. She's not exactly conjunct, but she's close enough to be hovering around this cazimi, and the area of the Libra horoscope chart where this cazimi is happening is in the area that rules the career. And so Cancer season, every time Cancer season comes in, the sun is here kind of highlighting your career and the work that you're doing, but Mercury is not always here, and there's not always a cazimi starting out in July between Mercury and the sun. And so this is definitely, special for the start of July. And if you feel like you have been in a mode of a lot of planning or expression around the work that you're doing in the world, that is definitely highlighted at the start of July. Mercury is the planet of communication. So if there's a lot of communication dynamics that you're working through at work, that is definitely a theme. Cancer squares Libra, so there's a hard aspect that happens between Cancer and Libra, which means that there's also tension there. And so if you feel like communication has been challenging or tense, that is something that is highlighted. One of the things about Libra is that Libra is not necessarily a sign that is associated with being super sensitive to feelings of other people, in the sense that the way Libra communicates can be a little bit more detached or self-oriented or dry or passive. In certain ways, Libra has a tendency to be associated with passivity or passive aggressiveness versus direct linear communication, or sometimes the direct linear communication can come off emotionless or detached. And that's a very big generalization. I know plenty of Libras who are very emotion-based and not passive aggressive, but those are just some of the shadow qualities of Libra as an archetype. And Cancer is very emotional and very emotion-based. And sometimes that feels too dramatic or mushy or vulnerable than what Libra is comfortable with. Sometimes it's too over the top, it's too emotional. And I've had some Libra dominant clients in the past that have expressed to me when they've dated Cancers or water signs that the water sign feels like they're not sensitive enough or they're not emotional enough, and that it's hurtful to them. And so having Mercury in Cancer, you might be challenged over this period of time that Mercury has been in Cancer and during this cazimi to have to learn as a Libra how to maybe be more emotion-based in your approach to things, or in your communication, or more sensitive in your communication, especially when it comes to maybe people you're working with, like employees or coworkers or a boss or something like that, or even clients. If you're somebody that works with clients, maybe there's a way that some clients are emotional and require more sensitivity or care. And so those could be themes with Mercury and Cancer in the area of work. Also your colleagues, are you being more mindful or sensitive in your communication towards colleagues and those types of things? Another theme happening at the start of July is that we enter July with Venus and Mars in the later degrees of Leo, and also Pallas Athena and Lilith are also kind of hovering on the outside of this Venus and Mars conjunction happening. And the area that this is hitting in the Libra horoscope has to do with community and also your relationship to friendship circles and groups. And Venus here, whenever Venus is transiting this area of the chart, it means that we actually really desire social engagements and social connection, or a connection to our community. That's something that we really want to be a part of. But Mars here can also bring some conflict and some challenge in that, where maybe we're also trying to be a part of things in a way that's not necessarily as harmonious as if Venus was traveling here by herself, but it also can ramp up a lot of energy to network or initiate more of that. And in Leo, Leo likes to be really open and active and share. And, Leo likes to be social with the people that it enjoys being around. And so there is kind of more of this extroverted energy. And Leo sextiles Libra. There's a harmonious aspect. So unlike Cancer, where Libra and Cancer kind of make more of this tension, hard aspect, Leo and Libra are the opposite, where it's very harmonious and easy. And so if you've been really wanting to be more social and more outgoing, that's really supported at the start of July, especially. On July 3rd, we have a full moon in Capricorn, and Capricorn is the opposite sign of Cancer. And so again, it makes that cardinal square energy. And so we have kind of this T-square, happening to Libra. And so there could be a lot of tension on July 3rd for Libra in that way. But in terms of what this full moon is good for, full moons, are a time where we can manifest things into existence that we want to cultivate into our lives. It's also a time where we can also release energy that is no longer serving us, that we don't want to deal with anymore. And where this full moon is hitting for the Libra horoscope is the area that represents home and family. And also, the sun's going to be in that career area with Mercury and Juno. And then we've got the moon highlighting the area of home and family. And so there's a few ways that we can utilize this energy. We can look at manifesting more of the home life and relationship to family that we want. We can also work on healing and releasing energy around family and the past and ancestral lineage that we want to no longer be a part of. If there's narratives within the family that we no longer want to perpetuate, we can focus on releasing that type of energy. In terms of our home, like life work balance, that's also a big theme. So if you feel like you need to work on cultivating a better life work balance, that's also really positive for you to set intentions towards on this full moon on July 3rd. By the 10th of July, we are going to have Mercury leaving Cancer and entering Leo, which, Mercury will now be entering that area of the chart that has to do with community, friendship circles, group environments. And so this is a time where you might feel that, elevated energy again to want to socialize and be a part of your community. And then that same day, Mars is going to be leaving Leo and entering Virgo. And Mars is actually going to be entering an area of the chart that has to do with the subconscious and also the past. And so this area, when Mars is here, can actually lend itself towards having to process repressed anger and feelings of frustration or irritability. And so it also amplifies our subconscious fears and things that maybe we haven't worked through. And so Mars is going to be here for a while. Mars is going to be here from the 10th of July until the end of August. And so we have an opportunity here for Libra to really work through repressed trauma, repressed anger, and it's going to be coming out in certain forms, like your subconscious in terms of your dreams. So dream work is also really positive to do while Mars is passing through this area. But, you can also, when we have repressed anger, there can be an inclination towards health problems as well. So especially in the sign of Virgo. So that's something that you want to be really mindful of, is how do you process anger? How do you get anger out of the body? Libra having more of this archetype that can be passive aggressive. Mars is the opposite. Mars ruling Aries is aggressive and assertive. So how does Libra learn how to be more aggressive and assertive and direct and confrontational in a constructive way, not a deconstructive way? And Libra often has to learn the value of confrontation. Libra wanting to keep the peace and maybe avoid things and not necessarily have to deal with it. That doesn't really work forever. That can actually lead to more problems later. And so Mars might be coming in here to teach you, especially in the sign of Virgo, how do you do effective problem solving in a direct way? Virgo really wants to have a strategy and a plan when it comes to problem solving. And so Mars here might help you figure out more constructive ways to deal with anger and deal with things that you're suppressing that you need to actually really be working through and confronting more head on. So that's a big theme there. On July 17th, we're going to have a new moon in Cancer. And again, that area of the chart that has to do with career is going to be highlighted. And so if you have intentions around your career that you want to set into motion, this new moon on the 17th is a really, really positive time for that. So, you know, do a little ritual, write down things that you want to manifest when it comes to your work life, and, you know, put it under a candle and do a little meditation and see kind of what you can grow and cultivate out of that. The other thing that's happening that's a big deal for Libra and Aries dominant people is that the nodal axis, which has been in Taurus and Scorpio, is actually making its way officially into Aries and Libra for the next year and a half. And so the area that's highlighted, the North Node, is going to be in the area that represents relationships for you, partnership. And the South Node is going to be in the area that represents identity. And so that's the theme, you know, during this time that the nodes are here. On July 23rd, we are going to enter Leo season. And so the sun is going to move from your area of career and move into the area that has to do with community, friendships, groups, and join Venus in that. And so again, your community is a big theme for July, and the way that you connect to community and friends, that type of thing, is definitely highlighted. And, you know, Venus is also going to be stationing retrograde here on the same day that the sun is entering. So on this July 23rd day, and Venus is going to be retrograde for the end of July and all the way through August until September. And so when Venus is retrograde in the area of friendship, groups, and circles, we might be feeling, you know, like we're working through some things with people. Like maybe we feel uncomfortable in our community. Maybe we feel like we need more friends that are more in alignment with who we are. Maybe we're having conflict with a friendship group or friendship circle, and we need to confront it and work through it. And so that might be a theme going on where we are working through our place in our community and all of those things. What else is here on the 23rd? Mars, in a couple days from the 23rd, being in Virgo, is also going to make a trine with Jupiter in Taurus. And so we're going to have some themes around shared resources. And, you know, it's interesting. If you're a Libra that's married and you're sharing resources with your partner, and by shared resources, it usually means, you know, your home, your money, anything, you know, food, anything that you guys are sharing. There might be some conversations around that need to happen in terms of the plan. You know, again, Virgo is all about plans and how are we executing things. And then Jupiter and Taurus is highlighting this area, and Jupiter brings abundance. You know, if you're a Libra that's thinking about getting married and sharing, you know, conjoining resources, planning those things and figuring out those things is there. If you're thinking about refinancing a house, selling a house, buying a house, taking out a loan, you know, any kind of those themes, like those might come up, and having to have really, you know, strategic conversations about that stuff. That might be a theme towards the end of July for you. And, you know, if you're not in a partnership, maybe you're thinking about how you want a partnership and you want more of those things, and how do you process trauma and heal trauma so that you can get into a place where you're manifesting more of, you know, those types of relationships into your life. Like that might be something that's a theme for you at the end of the month if you're single. On July 28th, Mercury is going to be entering the Virgo party with Mars and Pallas Athena. I don't know if I mentioned Pallas Athena was also in Virgo, but it is. And Mercury, you know, rules Virgo, is in domicile in Virgo. And so this is a really positive energy for continuing some of those themes around how do you work through your subconscious fears and insecurities and anger and repressed trauma in a constructive way. July is a really good month for you to work on going to therapy and talking out maybe some repressed memories or things that might be influencing or affecting your position in the world today. There's so much emphasis on who you are in the world in this chart in terms of your career, but also your social circles and your friend groups. And if you're experiencing any conflict or tension in those areas, or maybe you're not, maybe that's kind of dominating your life, but then you're neglecting your selfhood or your sense of self, and you're finding that you're having a lot of irritability or a lot of anger or frustration around certain things, talk therapy or some kind of therapy to help you process some of this repressed trauma or repressed memories or anger is really positive for you, so that you don't end up taking it out on other people at work or in your community. So there's a lot of potential for you to channel some of your anger or conflict directly into relationships because of this, kind of Venus retrograde. But if you have a therapist that you can process, talk, and work things out with and see kind of where you're projecting things, it might help you actually heal a lot of relationships in your community or in your friendship circles and find more constructive ways to confront things and move forward and, heal anything that might have been hard for you to process in the past, or maybe you didn't have the energy for in the past, if that makes sense. And having Juno here in this mix with Virgo too, that's the asteroid that represents marriage. And so, when Juno and Mars are aspecting Jupiter, and then like later in the month, we have Mercury entering Virgo here, like there's a lot of opportunity for you to be working on, if you're married or in a relationship, working on things that need to be talked about more directly and planned out, especially around any shared resources, for sure. And Mercury, is going to be in Virgo until September. Until October. It stations retrograde at the end of August. So when we enter August, we're going to be in that Mercury retrograde shadow. So at the end of July, we're kind of entering, the time where we need to start kind of planning out and strategizing how we're going to process and work through some of the stuff that comes up from the subconscious. And dreams are going to be really enhanced during this time because of where it's passing through. So if you're into dream work or dream journaling, I highly recommend doing that as an exercise to work through some of the stuff that's coming up. And because Mars is here and Pallas Athena are here, it's really common for dreams that are violent or where you're angry or stressed out. I talked about this in the Virgo video because there were some themes of that happening too in the Virgo video. But when Mars is in this area, we might have dreams where we're screaming and yelling and where we feel trapped and we're trying to get out. And so if you're having any dreams like that, it's usually a sign that there's something repressed that needs to be worked through. Why do you feel like there's this inability for you to express things openly and honestly? And how do you work through that? How do you get past that? How do you find more constructive ways to deal with anger and confrontation in waking life? So those are some things that I think, if you found a therapist to work through that with, that might be really positive to you. All right. I mean, it seems like a fun social month for Libra. Like there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of really fun extroverted activities and elevate in your career. But it also seems like there's a lot of repressed stuff that is brewing that really needs your attention. And I think if it doesn't get your attention, you're more prone to taking it out on other people, which is no bueno. So good luck. And I hope that everything goes smoothly and that, you're planning and strategizing with your partner, if you have one, is constructive, all those things. And I wish you the best of luck. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Hit like, subscribe if you want updates on when I post these. And I will see you in August. Goodbye.